There have been many boy banders to grace the Masked Singer stage. Well, tonight is all about that music. It's boy band night. Everybody from Group C will be singing a popular boy band hit, and one will be unmasked at the end of the episode. Let's talk the Masked Singer. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my recap and reaction video for The Masked Singer Season 13. We're on Episode 8. This is Group C's return. We met them last week. Next week will be the Group C finals. And 2 will be moving on then to the, I guess, semifinals. And they will face off against 2 from Group A, 2 from Group B. I think I know which 2 are moving forward already. I could have called it probably last week. I think Group C is by far the weakest of the groups this season. One of the weaker groups we've ever had, really. I think there's only 2 genuinely competent singers here, so they're going to, I think, move on, but that's next week's episode. First, let's focus on Boy Band Night, and we'll start that in just a second. First, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a subscriber already of Dan Reviews It, thank you so much for that. Love when you guys return and check out my stuff, and especially if you are a Masked Singer viewer, you should be subscribed by now, but if you're not, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell. But look, I do a lot more on the channel than just Masked Singer content. I do a lot of TV and movie stuff, and keep in mind, in just a few weeks we'll be done with season 13 already and have to wait till the fall for season 14. So in the meantime, you can check out any of my other videos where I review movies and TV shows just about every day. Something new is going up on the channel. But look, for Masked Singer specifically, comment. I love hearing from you guys and interacting with you about who might be under these masks. And I think for the first time, maybe ever, I've been doing these since season 3, and I think maybe for the first time, I don't have any of Group C correct from my guesses last week. I don't think any of them are right now. I'm changing all of them, including the one that's getting unmasked today. I mean, this was rough. I think I had some pretty good logic on some of my guesses, but you guys in the comments definitely steered me in a different direction. And look, 2 of them I don't think I was ever going to get. One, I believe, is an athlete, and one, I believe, is a real housewife. Those are tough categories for me. But I should have gotten at least the ones in the music industry, but I think I got those wrong too. So, look, we'll get to all of it piece by piece here. So, the group started by coming out and singing Everybody Backstreet's Back. Great crowd pleaser. And I guess because of that, nobody ended up singing a Backstreet Boys song tonight. We had some different ones in the mix, but in any event, let's see. First up was Nessie. And so the clue package here, I never thought I'd be singing a boy band song, but I am clearly committed to the bit. Back in the boy band days, I was fighting them for TRL spots, that's Total Request Live on MTV, charts, and CD sales, but NSYNC specifically kept getting in my way. And we see him fishing, and then what appears to be like moss or something, or algae. He gets that on his fishing pole. He said, I faced off in a celebrity golf tournament, and I had the worst game of my life. They had a better score, and I raised a glass to them. We see popcorn at that point, which Rita was thinking maybe like an MTV Movie Award or something. And he said, but you know what? I'm happy to be in that era of music. What a cool club to be in. And then he sang Tear It Up My Heart. Great that he did an NSYNC song after talking about how they were his big rivals on the charts. And then for this week, every post-song clue was presented with the Nick Cannon t-shirt cannon. They premiered that a couple of seasons ago, and it was brought out by a boy bander, either Chris Kirkpatrick from NSYNC or Omarion from B2K, I guess, both former Masked Singers. So Chris Kirkpatrick came out for this one. Makes sense since they sang an NSYNC song, talked about them in the clue package, and the t-shirt had a big heart on it. And so Nessie says, just like the boy banders, I was also known for my love songs. All right, so the guesses from last week, none of them were the same. Last week, they said Gene Simmons, Dan Reynolds from Imagine Dragons, or Daryl Hall. And Robin and Ken both thought they were really onto the Daryl Hall Train there. I was of a different persuasion. I thought maybe Daryl Hall. I didn't hate that guess, but my guess last week officially was Rick Springfield based on some of these clues. But let's hear from the panel this week. So Rita thought it might be Dave Matthews. I think that's a good guess. I mean, look, obviously, some of these guesses get thrown out the window immediately because of the TRL stuff, and NSYNC was, a contemporary of them. Rick Springfield, Hall & Oates, Gene Simmons, they were all way before TRL, and then Dan Reynolds from Imagine Dragons after TRL. So none of those clues match. So this week, they were looking more into that late 90s, early 2000s kind of tip. Dave Matthews is not a bad guess from Rita. Jenny thought it might be Darius Rucker from Hootie and the Blowfish, the fisherman clue. But I think Darius Rucker has a very distinct voice, and I don't think this is it. Now, my favorite guess of the night was from Ken, maybe for anybody. He said this could be Pat Monahan from Train. That is a great guess. I mean, Marry Me is a wonderful ballad, very, very popular at weddings. Calling All Angels is another kind of, ballad number. I mean, they've had others over the years, but those are probably, what, Drops of Jupiter? That might be their biggest one, right? But then, of course, they have some up-tempo numbers as well. I've seen Train in concert at least twice, and I think it's a great guess. It is not my guess. You guys in the comments last week were beating the drum for Edwin McCain, who I had not really thought of at all, because I was thinking a little older in that Daryl Hall, Rick Springfield kind of vein. And I liked that guess, even before the clues this week with the TRL stuff and everything else. I like that guess. Edwin McCain, his biggest hit is I'll Be. It made, I think, number 4 on the Hot 100. Maybe it was, maybe there was an NSYNC song in the top 3 there. Maybe he was number 2 on TRL for a while because NSYNC was number 1. I'll Be, I feel like, came out maybe a little before NSYNC, though. That seems like a 97 song to me in my memory. I don't know. And then, of course, 98 was when NSYNC broke. But TRL didn't come out, I think, till 99. So does Edwin McCain have any songs after I'll Be? Yes, he had a few. I Could Not Ask for More was certainly a big one, and that was another love song. So I think this lines up with Edwin McCain. And I was listening a little bit more for the voice. Look, Edwin McCain doesn't have a huge catalog of hits to kind of listen to, but I do think this matches his voice decently. I didn't hate Ken's Pat Monahan guess, though. For all of Ken's dopey guesses, that actually wasn't bad. But I am going to stick for now with Edwin McCain. I think you guys in the comments are onto something there. And based on some of the stuff we met last week with that, I think that makes sense as well. All right, so let's move next to the Stud Muffin, and he is the one who is getting unmasked. So we will do the clues and then go to the Take It Off before we talk about the other 2 singers. So he said, before BSB and NKOTB, it was the Four Tops and the Temptations, who then inspired Boys to Men, New Edition, Belle Biv DeVoe, and we see a gold chain, but it's like behind I don't know what you call it, but like a chain link fence type of chain. So 2 chains there, which led to Ken's guess of 2 chains later. But he said, I may not be in a boy band, but I know what it means to be part of a brotherhood. And we see 5 stud muffins there at that point of all different shades. He's a blueberry muffin, but we saw like a strawberry one or whatever. He said, we grew up and blew up together. But when you've got a good thing, people try to poison you. And we see an unwrapped present. A wrapped present. So Jenny was thinking, okay, a wrapper. And we see a private jet at that point. He says, the group I'm singing tonight once sent me a birthday message, and I want to return the favor as my gift to them. Okay, so afterwards we had Omarion come on with the T-shirt cannon, and the T-shirt was an ingredients list that said dash of sugar, sprinkle of flour, and a Grammy of gold. He said, I have all the ingredients right here. I'm extra proud of this one, pointing to the Grammy Gold. And he said he has actually performed with Omarion. I think one of the panel asked Omarion if he's ever performed with the Stud Muffin, but of course they don't really know necessarily who's under the mask. So he said, I don't really know, but Stud Muffin shook his head and said, yep. So there you go. All right, so the guesses from the panel remained the same from earlier in the episode and the final guesses. But before they gave their final guesses, of course, they had the clue duck. Actually, there's two guesses here because you had the clue duck, and then you also had the clue case clue at the very end. So, okay, hold on. So, the clue duck, when we went into commercial, was a video from Wayne Brady from season 2. And he said, here's a little hint about the stud muffin. He actually shared the screen with Ken. Now, Ken's been in a ton of movies and TV shows, so narrows it down maybe a little bit, but not too much. And then the clue case for the stud muffin, it was a sign that said Stud Muffin District, like a street sign. And he said, they actually named a whole street after us, me and my crew. So the guesses from the panel, Ken said 2 Chainz. Jenny said MC Hammer. And Rita and Robin stuck with exactly what they said last week, Method Man. Now, last week, I said it was maybe somebody from Run DMC, perhaps Daryl DMC, because there was a clue. To me, it was all about like this early rap pioneer kind of stuff last week. The boombox, he had some jam with him, and that reminded me of Jam Master Jay from Run DMC. So I thought, okay, maybe this is Run DMC. But look, you guys in the comments were quick to point out all of the other connections for Method Man. And that's, Rita and Robin were definitely on that train last week. And so this week, there's no doubt in my mind, and there's many reasons why. So the whole jam clue, it's so funny, because I don't think this show has done a jam clue before, right? But so I went right to Run DMC Jam Master Jay. But of course, there's Space Jam. Jam was a 1991 hit from Michael Jackson from the Dangerous album. So there's a lot of different jams. And then there's Def Jam Records. So that one word could mean so many different things. I went right to Run DMC. And I think matching up with the clues last week, it made sense. But Wu-Tang Clan, which features Method Man, of course, was on the Space Jam soundtrack. This week when he said, part of a brotherhood, we saw 5 stud muffins. Run DMC is only 3, so it's not them. And then the acting stuff. Well, Method Man was in a movie last year, a Kevin Smith movie called The 4:30 Movie, and Ken Jeong was also in that film. In terms of Grammys, well, Wu-Tang doesn't have any Grammys, unfortunately, but in 1990, I want to say 6, Method Man did win alongside Mary J. Blige a Grammy Award for Best, I don't know if it was Best like R&B Duo or Best Hip Hop Duo or something. But whatever the award was, they won a Grammy together in the mid-90s for one of their songs. So he does have a Grammy, even though Wu-Tang does not. And as for the gold chains and the chain link fence, I looked up some track listings of Wu-Tang albums, and now I forget what it was, but there is a Wu-Tang song called, I forget what it's called. You guys are going to grill me in the comments about this, but it was like Chains Around My Heart or Can't Break These Chains or something like that. Chain Around Your Neck. I forget. Anyway, I know I'm so white. But I do think at this point, this is Method Man. I liked my guess last week for DMC, but I'm going to say Method Man. I'm only down 2 so far this season. Last week I did not get Candace Cameron Bure. And then there was somebody I'd never heard of from a reality show earlier. But let's see. I think this is Method Man. Rita and Robin were on it from the beginning. They said his flow reminded them of Method Man. He spoke a certain way. Yeah, it's Method Man. There you go. Grammy-winning rapper. I think Nick knew who that was too. Rita and Robin were on it from the start, which is impressive. Robin usually doesn't have a good ear for this. But let's see if he gives a reason for why he's on this show. Definitely a hip-hop legend. I don't know if they were on Def Jam Records or not. But they were definitely on the Space Jam soundtrack. She said she didn't even think he was a real person. Method Man. The fact that we got to see Method Man doing R&B choreography. I don't even know if I mentioned the song. He did Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe. I don't know if I said that. And he was doing the Roger Rabbit. He was doing all the old school dance moves. I gotta say this though, because like we just seen and we heard all the screams on Boy Band Night. I mean,
You've been a stud muffin to the ladies for generations.
Yeah, people always love Method Man. He had his own sitcom, Method in Red.
You wanted to be the stud muffin. Nah, they kind of picked it for me, but when I thought about it, I kind of agreed. I was like, all right, let's go.
And I think there's a W on his belt, too, which would be for Wu-Tang. Somebody pointed that out in the comments, and I can't see it too clearly, but I think there is.
Who do you think is going to be the most shocked to see you inside the stud muffin costume? Probably my family.
All right, he said his family's going to be the most surprised. All right, well, look, all those clues matched up with him, so love that. And, all right, so thank you guys in the comments. I think eventually with the clues this week, and Robin and Rita beating the Method Man drum, that's one I think I would have actually figured out eventually by myself, but I'm always glad to have the help in the comments for sure. All right, so let's see. Next up was Yorkie. She said, nothing makes more headlines than a boy band scandal, and I know about that myself. I've had many scandals. When this New Yorkie broke onto the scene, I was adored, till I found myself wrapped in a major scandal, paying for someone else's choices. And we see a gingerbread house at that point. She said, someone I loved. My name was in the news and gossip sites and billboards around town, and I was dragged through the dirt. But I stayed true to myself, and the truth came out. We see a peach pie there. And she sang Step by Step from New Kids on the Block, of course, Donnie Wahlberg's old band, so Jenny loved that. And the canon, the t-shirt canon said, touring up my heart. She said, my life has been a comedy and tragedy, but yeah, I've been all around the world. All right, so the guesses from the panel are all sort of in line with what people were thinking last week. A lot of housewives guesses, and then Rita stuck with her guess of Paris Hilton. And the reason she did was, so Rita told the story about how she was recently at a party like the week before, and Paris was like, oh, what are you up to these days? And Rita said, oh, I'm a panelist on The Masked Singer. And she said Paris made a face that was sort of like of maybe disgust, but also it could mean, oh, I'm on that show and, you might find me out, whatever. I don't know. That's a stretch, but she's sticking with her Paris Hilton guess. Ken thought it might be Teresa Giudice from the Housewives of, I think, New York, which would make sense with the New York comment. And Jenny sort of agreed with that, saying, oh, yeah, she's definitely been dragged through the mud with all these different scandals that she's been a part of, and even went to jail for her husband's misdeeds or whatever it was. And I remember hearing that story. The only reason I really know who she is because she was on The Apprentice, whatever, 15, 20 years ago. The Real Housewives, I know so little about unless they're like the uber famous ones. But Jenny said somebody that you guys mentioned in the comments over and over again last week, Erica Jane. And that is someone who I am aware of. I'm not positive that I knew she was a Real Housewife, but I'm definitely aware of the name. And she has actually had a bunch of #1 club hits on Billboard, the Billboard Club and Dance chart. So she definitely, I guess, can sing, although I don't think Yorkie can sing particularly well, but that is what it is, I guess. I actually thought Yorkie was going to go home last week. I professed that before. But, this week, Step by Step, that's not a necessarily hard song to sing, but she did okay with it. But again, I don't, if this is Erica Jane, I'm surprised that this person has 8 Billboard #1s on the dance chart, because she can't sing all that well, to be honest. But I guess you just need a good beat sometimes for a club hit. But not knowing much about the Real Housewives, you guys in the comments were saying Erica Jane, Erica Jane. Jenny thinks it's Erica Jane. And knowing that Erica Jane is a professional singer of sorts, I guess, with all of these Billboard #1 club hits, I'm going to as well go with Erica Jane. So boy, oh boy, I mean, these are just completely off of what I was saying last week for all of them. I don't think that has ever happened. All right, and what else? Okay, so we're down to one more. Again, someone who I knew I wasn't going to get this right, because I guessed a random baseball player last week, a pitcher that is tall, because I think this is a pitcher. The clues lead us to that. But this week, let's see. He said, at their core, boy bands are about chemistry, and I know a little something about that. When I met my boo, it was at a Friendsgiving table. Our hands brushed, passing the cranberry sauce. We see a grandfather clock. We also see a sandcastle there. And he said, but we parted ways after that dinner. And when we reconnected years later, I serenaded her. We see a cruise ship there. And he said, I promised I'd never leave her side. And then he sang I Swear by All for One. That's a great tune. And afterwards, the Omarion canon had the shirt that said BTS and BSB. He said, it's an honor to have won the same award as both. So, what is BTS and Backstreet Boys both won? That's a toughie. And if this is, some people are thinking this is a country singer. So, if it's a country singer, okay, that makes a little more sense. Maybe a Grammy that they won at the same time, or not the same time, but like the same award, or American Music Award, or something like that. But other than that, there are awards for just general things. It maybe isn't the same exact award like Best New Artist, but maybe they all won a People's Choice Award. Or the sandcastle reminds me of the surfboard, and that's like for the Teen Choice Awards. So there's a few different possibilities there that I'm not really sure enough of. But so the guesses from the panel are all still country stars. Now, I do think the Mad Scientist and Nessie are the ones that are going to go ahead to the semifinals. I think they are by far the best singers of this group. But from all the clues last week, I don't think this is a country singer. I think this is a baseball player. But the guesses from the panel, Robin said Alan Jackson. Last week he said Blake Shelton. Jenny said Tim McGraw. Last week she said Luke Bryan. And last week Ken said Luke Combs. This week didn't have a guess, but Rita said Keith Urban. So boy, oh boy, I mean, we're really, really on this country singer train. I am not there. I still think from the pitching clues last week, this is a baseball player. And one of you in the comments, specifically Brianna, my girl that's been commenting for years and years on my Masked Singer videos, she suggested maybe this is Brett Young. So last week in the clue package, they talked about being one of the best in his field. His skills made the scouts go crazy. Everybody wanted a piece of him, but everything fell apart and he got sidelined. And so a new experience had to bubble to the surface. So, look, I am not familiar with Brett Young. I don't know if I've ever even heard the name. But Brianna goes on in the comments to talk about how this Brett Young was killed early. Not he was killed, but his career was killed early on from an injury. And so he ended up diverting into music, and specifically country music. So, look, if it's a baseball player, I usually don't know it. But that speaks to me. I don't think this is a country singer. I think it is a ball player that can sing very well. And we've certainly seen those over the years, between football players and some other athletes that actually not only can carry a tune, but like really well. So I'm going to go with it. I'm going to change my guess. Last week I said Randy Johnson. I don't think that's right. I'm going to say Brett Young could be under this mad scientist monster mask. I think, was there anything else? Hold on. Was there something else with the mad scientist monster? I think there was. Hold on just a second. No, okay, I think that was it. Okay. So, yeah, all right. So there you go. Those are my guesses. None the same from last week. So we will see how they fare as we get to the finals for Group C next week. And then after that, we will meet Group A and B yet again. Group C will remain there. And we'll be down to 6 finalists for the semifinals. All right. Thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It, and I'll see you next time.